Welcome to Tune In Tuesday, Old Testament History, Chapter 3, Session 13B, At the River's Edge, Part 2. The curtain is falling on Moses, and he's getting ready to exit the stage. But before he leaves, he has one more performance. His grand finale. His words to leave them with, and he's letting them have it. He's reminding them over and over about the number one thing that hacks God off. That's idolatry. Putting anything or anyone before God. You know, he had saved them from total oblivion. He defeated their enemy. He miraculously fed them and gave them water to drink, not just once or twice, but continually. He gave them a religion, a culture, a government, a society, a legacy, and a dream. He gave them riches. He gave them their identity. He gave them everything. And for anyone to put anything ahead of him, beside being sheer lunacy, would be utter perfidy, treachery, and treason. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 6. Deuteronomy 9:6. Understand, therefore, that the Lord thy God giveth thee not this good land to possess it for your righteousness, for thou art a stiff-necked people. Remember and forget not how thou provoked the Lord thy God to wrath in the wilderness, from the day that thou didst depart out of the land of Egypt until you come to this place. You've been rebellious against the Lord. Also in Horeb you provoked the Lord to wrath. So the Lord was angry with you and would have destroyed you. Moses says, when I was gone up into the mount to receive the tables of stone, even the tables of the covenant which the Lord made with you, that I abode in the mount 40 days and 40 nights, and neither did I eat bread or drink water. And the Lord delivered unto me 2 tables of stone, written with the finger of God, and on them was written according to all the words which the Lord spoke with you in the mount, out of the midst of the fire, in the day of the assembly. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days and 40 nights, that the Lord gave me 2 tables of stone, even the tables of the covenant. And the Lord said unto me, Arise, get thee down quickly from hence, for thy people, which thou hast brought forth out of Egypt, have corrupted themselves, and they're quickly turned aside out of the way which I commanded them, and they've made them a molten image. You know what happened. Moses was so angry, he broke the original 2 tablets of the law, and he ground up that golden calf into powder and strewed the dust of it in the water and made them drink it. And now Moses is reminding them of their failures. Chapter 9, verse 22. At Taberah, and at Massa, and at Kibbath Hatabah, you provoked the Lord to wrath. Likewise, when the Lord sent you from Kadesh Barnea, saying, Go up and possess the land which I have given you, then you rebelled against the commandment of the Lord your God, and you believed it not, nor hearkened to his voice. You've been rebellious against the Lord from the day that I knew you. Thus I fell down before the Lord 40 days and 40 nights, as I fell down at the first, because the Lord said he would destroy you. So he's falling down to make intercession. I prayed therefore unto the Lord, and said, O Lord God, destroy not thy people and your inheritance, which thou hast redeemed through your greatness, which thou hast brought forth out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand. Remember thy servants, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Look not unto the stubbornness of this people, nor to their wickedness, nor to their sin, lest the land which thou broughtest out say, Well, because the Lord was not able to bring them into the land which he promised them, and because he hated them, he hath brought them out to slay them in the wilderness. Yet they are thy people, and thine inheritance, which thou broughtest out by thy mighty power and by thy stretched out arm. Every time they blew it, Moses interceded for them just like that, and the Lord forgave them. chapter 10, verse 6, chapter 10. And the children of Israel took their journey from Beeroth of the children of Jachin to Mosera. There Aaron died, and there he was buried, and Eleazar his son ministered in the priest's office in his stead. And from thence they journeyed unto Gugada, and from Gugada to Jobath, a land of rivers of waters. At that time the Lord separated the tribe of Levi to bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, to stand before the Lord to minister to him, and to bless his name unto this day. Wherefore Levi hath no part nor inheritance with his brethren. The Lord is his inheritance, according as the Lord thy God promised him. And I stayed in the mount according to the first time, 40 days and 40 nights. And the Lord hearkened to me at that time also, and the Lord would not destroy thee, because he was still praying for him. And the Lord said unto me, Arise, take thy journey from before the people, that they may go in and possess the land which I swear unto their fathers to give unto them. And now, Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee, but to reverence the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good. Behold, the heaven and the heavens of heavens is the Lord's thy God, the earth also with all that therein is. Only the Lord hath a delight in thy fathers to love them, and he chose their seed after them, even you, above all people, as it is this day. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart, and be no more stiff-necked. For the Lord your God is a God of gods, and the Lord of lords, a great Lord, a mighty, and an awesome, which regards not persons, nor takes rewards. He doth execute the judgment of the fatherless and the widow, and loves the stranger, in giving him food and raiment. Love ye therefore the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Thou shalt reverence the Lord thy God, and him shalt thou serve, and to him shalt thou cleave, and swear by his name. He is thy praise, and he is thy God, that hath done for thee these great and awesome things, which thine eyes have seen. Thy fathers went down into Egypt with 70 persons. And now the Lord thy God hath made thee as the stars of heaven for multitude. So Moses is reminding them of their blessings. Then he charges them to teach their children, because the children had not seen all these miracles firsthand. Chapter 11, verse 1. Therefore thou shalt love the Lord thy God, and keep his charge, his statutes, and his judgments, and his commandments always. Know ye this day, for I speak not with your children, which have not known, and which have not seen the chastisement of the Lord your God, his greatness, his mighty hand, and his stretched out arm, and his miracles, and his acts, which he did in the midst of Egypt unto Pharaoh the king of Egypt, and to all his land, and what he did unto the army of Egypt, unto their horses and their chariots, how he made the water of the Red Sea to overflow them as they pursued after you, and how the Lord hath destroyed them unto this day, and what he did unto you in the wilderness, until you came to this place, and what he did unto Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, the sons of Reuben, how the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and their households, and their tents, and all the inheritance that was in their possession, in the midst of all Israel. But your eyes have seen all the great acts of the Lord which he did. Therefore you shall keep all the commandments which I command you this day, that you may be strong, and go in and possess the land, whither you go to possess it. See, over and over again, he's challenging them to do the word. Do the word. Verse 9, that you may prolong your days in the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers to give unto them and their seed, a land that flows with milk and honey. For the land whither thou goest to possess it is not as the land of Egypt, from whence you came out, where thou sowest thy seed and watered it with your foot as a garden of herbs. What they're talking about is probably watering with your foot. Is they were flat land and they irrigated it with these pumps that were probably like water wheels, human powered, watered it with your foot. Verse 11, but the land where you're going to possess is a land of hills and valleys. It's not flat. And drinks water of the rain of heaven. So it gets its water from a different source, not the Nile. Verse 12, a land which the Lord thy God cares for. The eyes of the Lord thy God are always upon it, from the beginning of the year even to the end of the year. And it shall come to pass, if you hearken diligently unto my commandments, which I command you this day, to love the Lord your God and to serve him with all your heart, with all your soul, that I will give you the rain of your land in his due season, the first rain and the latter rain, that you may gather in your corn, your wine, and your oil. And I will send grass in thy fields for your cattle, that thou mayest eat and be full. Take heed to yourselves, that your heart be not deceived, and you turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. That's another theme, reoccurring throughout. Verse 17, and then the Lord's wrath be kindled against you, and he shut up the heaven, that there be no rain, that the land yield not her fruit, unless you perish quickly from off the good land, which the Lord giveth you. So over and over, they're warned of the consequences of idolatry. Verse 18, chapter 11, verse 18, therefore shall you lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be frontlets between your eyes, and you shall teach them your children, speaking of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of your house, and upon your gates, that your days may be multiplied in the days of your children, in the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers to give them, as the days of heaven upon the earth. For you shall diligently keep all these commandments, which I command you to do them, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, and to cleave unto him. Then will the Lord drive out all these nations from before you, and you shall possess greater and mightier nations than yourselves. Every place wherein the soles of your feet shall tread shall be yours. From the wilderness of Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even unto the uttermost sea, shall your borders be. There shall no man be able to stand before you, for the Lord your God shall lay the fear of you and the dread of you upon all the land that you shall tread upon, as he said unto you. Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you this day, and a curse if you will not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside out of the way which I command you this day, to go after other gods which you have not known. See, again, the warning against idolatry. Chapter 12, verse 1, these are the statutes and the judgments which you shall observe to do in the land which the Lord God of thy fathers gives thee to possess it all the days that you live upon the earth. So now, chapter 12 and following, Moses begins to give them lists of things that they will need to do after they cross the river. Like chapter 13, verse 1. If there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and gives you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder come to pass, wherever he spake unto thee, saying, let us go after other gods, which thou hast not known, and let us serve them, thou shalt not hearken unto the words of that prophet, or that dreamer of dreams. For the Lord your God proves you to know whether you love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. You shall walk after the Lord your God and reverence him, and keep his commandments, and obey his voice, that you shall serve him and cleave unto him. And that prophet, or that dreamer of dreams, shall be put to death, because he has spoken to turn you away from the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, to trust you out of the way which the Lord thy God commanded thee to walk in. Thou shalt put the evil away from the midst of thee. So, the rest of chapter 13 is a listing of other scenarios in which they will be enticed to serve other gods after they cross the river. Chapter 14 goes through dietary regulations, because the manna is going to stop when they cross the river, and they will have to forage for their own food. So the dietary laws are important. Then chapter 15 covers the sabbatical year. Every 7th year, God commands to let the fields go fallow. Also, every bondservant shall be freed in the 7th year. Chapter 16 commands how to observe the Passover and Pentecost. Chapter 17 talks about judges and kings that will come in the new land. Chapter 18 speaks of how the priests and Levites will be supported, and about prophets to come. Like chapter 18, verse 18, God says, I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, will I require it of him. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. And if thou shalt say in your heart, how shall we know the word which the Lord hath not spoken? Well, when a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that's the thing which the Lord hath not spoken. Pretty simple. But the prophet has spoken it presumptuously. Thou shalt not respect him. So then, chapter 19 talks about the cities of refuge that are going to be on the west side, the west side of the river. Chapter 20 even talks about how to get ready for a battle. Look at chapter 20, verse 10. When you come nigh to a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace unto it. And it shall be, if it make thee an answer of peace, and open unto you, then it shall be that all the people that's found therein shall be tributaries unto you, and shall serve thee. You don't kill them all off. And if it will make no peace with thee, but will make war against thee, then thou shalt besiege it. And when the Lord thy God hath delivered it into your hand, thou shalt smite every male thereof with the edge of the sword. But the women and the little ones and the cattle and all that is in them, the city, even all the spoil thereof, shalt thou take unto thyself. Thou shalt eat the spoil of thine enemies, which the Lord thy God hath given thee. Thus shalt thou do unto all the cities which are very far off from thee, which are not the cities of these nations, but of the cities of these people, which the Lord thy God doth give thee for an inheritance. Thou shalt save alive nothing that breatheth, but thou shalt utterly destroy them, namely the Hittites and the Amorites and the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee, that they teach you not to go after all their abominations, which they've done unto their gods, so that you should sin against the Lord your God. When thou shalt besiege a city for a long time, in making war against it, to take it, thou shalt not destroy the trees thereof, by forcing an axe against them, for thou mayest eat of them. Thou shalt not cut them down, for the tree of the field is man's life, to employ them in the siege. Only the trees which you know that they be not trees for food, thou shalt destroy and cut them down. Thou shalt build bulwarks against the city, that makes war with thee until it be subdued. So gee whiz, God thought of everything. Here's some more stuff. Chapter 21, verse 10. When you go forth to war against your enemies, and the Lord thy God hath delivered them into your hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and you see among the captives a beautiful woman, and hast desire unto her that thou wouldest have her to be your wife, then shalt thou bring her home to your house. She shall shave her head, and pare her nails, and she shall put on the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in your house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month, and after that thou shalt go in unto her and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her, then thou shalt let her go whither she will. But thou shalt not sell her at all for money, for thou shalt not make merchandise of her, because thou hast humbled her. See, what nation would do that? See, that's the law. That's the justice of the law. Chapter 21, verse 15. If a man have two wives, one beloved and another hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, if the firstborn son be hers that was hated, then it shall be, when he makes his sons to inherit that which he hath, that he may not make the son of the beloved firstborn before the son of the hated, which is indeed the firstborn. But he shall acknowledge the son of the hated for the firstborn by giving him a double portion of all that he hath. That's that birthright. For he is the beginning of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. So that's the opposite, remember, of what happened with Jacob and Joseph. Remember, Reuben was the firstborn, but the double portion and the coat of many colors, the heirship coat, went to Joseph. Well, no more, because that engendered so much strife. The next thing that's brought up here in chapter 25, verse 5, is called levirate marriage, that the widows are not abandoned. Chapter 25, verse 5. See, these are all things that are going to come into play after they cross the river into the new promised land. Chapter 25, verse 5. If brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her, and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her, so that she has sons, she has heirs, that in her old age will take care of her, and that shall be part of the household. Verse 6, and it shall be that the firstborn which she beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate unto the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. Then the elders of the city shall call him and speak unto him. And if he stand to it and say, I like not to take her, then shall his brother's wife come into him in the presence of the elders, and loose his shoe from off his foot, and spit in his face, and shall answer and say, so shall it be done unto that man that will not build his brother's house. Woohoo! And his name shall be called in Israel, the house of him that hath his shoe loosed. Nobody's going to do that. That way the widow will be taken care of. Then Moses planned some activities. Now this is remarkable, because Moses is not done yet. He planned some activities for the children of Israel to make as great of an impression on them as possible. So this activity was to get on two different mountaintops and shout back and forth to each other. Chapter 27, verse 11. Moses charged the people the same day, saying, these shall stand upon Mount Gerizim, to bless the people. When you are come over Jordan, Simeon and Levi and Judah and Issachar and Joseph and Benjamin. So half the tribes are going to get on Mount Gerizim. And these shall stand upon Mount Ebal to curse. So there will be the blessers on one mountain and the cursers on another mountain. Reuben, Gad, Asher, Zebulun, Dan, and Naphtali. 27 verse 14. And the Levites shall speak and say unto all the men of Israel with a loud voice, Cursed be the man that makes any graven image or molten image, an abomination unto the Lord, the work of the hands of the craftsman, and puts it in a secret place. And all the people shall answer and say, Amen. So they're on the mountains, see, and they're going to say back and forth like this. Cursed be he that sets light by his father or his mother. And all the people shall say, Amen. And so Moses gives them a whole list of stuff, curses and blessings. And they're supposed to say Amen from the mountaintops. So that's a big meeting that everybody's going to remember for the rest of their life and help them to do the word. Isn't that amazing? Chapter 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if you hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord your God, to observe and to do all these commandments which I command thee this day. See, there it is again. That the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all the nations of the earth, and all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou wilt hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God. Blessed shalt thou be in the city, and blessed shalt thou be in the field. Blessed shalt the fruit of thy body be, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, and the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall be thy basket in thy store. Blessed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shalt thou be when thou goest out. And the Lord shall cause thine enemies to rise up against thee, to be smitten before your face. They shall come out against thee one way, and flee before thee 7 ways. So then he goes through a whole list of blessings. And then the next thing he does is he lists a whole bunch of curses. Chapter 28, verse 14. And thou shalt go not aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them. Because, that's the number one thing that hacks God off. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. And then he goes through a whole long list of curses. So again, it's amazing how Moses does all of these things to portray the truth of the word, that they shouldn't go against the word and worship other gods. A long list of curses. So then Moses renewed the covenant with them that God made with Abraham. So this is another thing he does. So he gets them on the mountain. He gives them a whole list of blessings. He gives them a whole list of cursings. And now he's going to renew the covenant with them that God made with Abraham and with Isaac and with Jacob, with Israel at Mount Horeb. And now, once again, here at the river's edge, chapter 29. Chapter 29, verse 1. These are the words of the covenant which the Lord commanded Moses to make with the children of Israel in the land of Moab, beside the covenant which he made with them in Horeb. And Moses called unto all Israel and said to them, You've seen all the Lord did before your eyes in the land of Egypt unto Pharaoh and unto all his servants and unto all his land, the great temptations which thine eyes have seen, the signs and those great miracles. Yet the Lord hath not given you a heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear unto this day. And I have led you 40 years in the wilderness. Your clothes are not grown old upon you, and your shoe is not grown old upon your foot. And you've not eaten bread, neither have you drunk wine or strong drink, that you might know that I am the Lord your God. And when you came to this place, Sihon the king of Heshbon and Og the king of Bashan came out against us unto battle, and we smote them. We took their land, gave it for an inheritance to the Reubenites, the Gadites, and half-tribe of Manasseh. Keep, therefore, the words of this covenant, and do them, that you may prosper in all you do. There it is. Keep and do, keep and do. That is how to succeed. Verse 10, you stand this day, all of you, before the Lord your God, your captains of your tribes, your elders, and your officers with all the men of Israel, your little ones and your wives, and your stranger that's in your camp, from the hewer of thy wood unto the drawer of thy water, that you should enter into the covenant with the Lord your God, and into his oath, which the Lord your God makes with thee this day, that he may establish thee this day for a people unto himself, and that he may be unto thee a God, as he hath said unto thee, and as he hath sworn unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Neither with you only do I make this covenant and this oath, but with him that stands here with us this day before the Lord our God, and also with him that is not here with us this day. Wow, this is really remarkable. For you know how we've dwelled in the land of Egypt, and how we came through the nations which you passed by. And you've seen their abominations and their idols, wood and stone, and silver and gold, which were among them. See, again and again, reminding them of the prohibition against idolatry. Verse 18, lest there should be among you a man or a woman or a family or a tribe whose heart turns away this day from the Lord our God to go and serve the gods of these nations, lest there should be among you a root that bears gall and wormwood. Gall is actually opium. There's two reactions to false doctrine. Either folks will float away into never-never-land religious fantasy, or people are poisoned like wormwood. They're poisoned of their faith because what is taught doesn't work. They get disillusioned. Verse 19, it'll come to pass when he hears the words of this curse that he bless himself in his heart, saying, I'm going to have peace, though I walk in the imaginations of mine heart, to add drunkenness to thirst. So they're thirsty, and then they add drunkenness to it. It's like the idiom in the New Testament is they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. They're never satisfied. They can't scratch it. And this verse 18 and verse 19 is remarkable, because if you trace those concepts through the Word, they will return over and over again to contexts where people have, verse 18, turned away from the Lord your God. And it's like a root that's beneath the surface that you can't get rid of. And it's like gall. It makes people drunken and high, and they can't think. Or wormwood, it poisons them. And then they bless themselves in their heart, and they have false peace because they don't do the word, and they say, it doesn't matter. Everything's going to be all right. Though I walk in the imagination, the twistings of your heart. That's another term that echoes throughout. To add drunkenness to the thirst, they just aren't satisfied. And then when calamity hits, they don't know why. They're just... Verse 18 and 19 is remarkable. Verse 20, the Lord will not spare him when the anger of the Lord and his jealousy shall smoke against that man, and all the curses that are written in this book shall lie upon him, and the Lord shall blot out his name from under heaven. Chapter 30, verse 1, it'll come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among the nations whither the Lord thy God hath driven thee. Thou shalt return unto the Lord thy God, and shalt obey his voice, according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thine heart and with all thy soul. And then the Lord thy God will turn your captivity, and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy God hath scattered thee. See, he knew one day they'd blow it, and they'd get scattered, and then they'd come to their senses, and the remnant would return, and God would forgive them. Wow. God knew the future and laid it all out. Chapter 31, verse 1. And Moses went and spoke all these words unto all Israel. And then he said to them, I'm 120 years old this day. I can no more go out and come in. That's an idiom to mean to exercise leadership. Why? Because God said you can't go any further. As the Lord hath said unto me, thou shalt not go over this Jordan. The Lord thy God, he will go over before thee, and he will destroy these nations from before thee, and thou shalt possess them. And Joshua, he shall go over before thee, as the Lord hath said. And the Lord shall do unto them as he did unto Sihon and to Og, the kings of the Amorites, and unto the land of them whom he destroyed. And the Lord shall give them up before your face, that you may do unto them according to all the commandments which I have commanded you. Be strong and of a good courage. Fear not, nor be afraid of them. For the Lord thy God, he it is that doth go with thee. He will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. And to see the same thing's true for your promised land. The same thing's true for your Jordan, the obstructions that keep you from it. And God is with you, just like he is with them. So go get your promised land. Be strong and of a good courage. Fear not, nor be afraid of anything. For the Lord your God, he it is that goes with you, and he won't fail you, nor forsake you. So go get your promised land too. Verse 7, and Moses called unto Joshua, and said unto him in the sight of all Israel, Be strong and of a good courage, for thou must go with this people unto the land which the Lord hath sworn unto their fathers to give it them, and thou shalt cause them to inherit it. And the Lord, he it is that doth go before thee, and he will be with thee, and he will not fail thee, neither forsake thee. Fear not, neither be dismayed, Joshua. And Moses wrote this law, and he delivered it unto the priests, the son of Levi, which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, unto all the elders of Israel. So after all the things that Moses did, the blessings, the cursings, the 2 mountaintops, the covenant, now he writes it all. Look what he's doing to make the greatest impact he can. Chapter 31, verse 14. And the Lord said to Moses, Behold, thy days approach that thou must die. Call Joshua. Present yourselves in the tabernacle of the congregation, that I may give him a charge. And Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tabernacle of the congregation. And the Lord appeared in the tabernacle in a pillar of a cloud, and a pillar of the cloud stood over the door of the tabernacle. And the Lord said to Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers. And this people will rise up and go a-whoring after gods of the strangers of the land, whither they go to be among them, and will forsake me and break my covenant which I've made with them. Oh, after all Moses had done. Then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them, that they shall be devoured, and many evils and troubles shall befall them, so that they will say in that day, are not all these evils come upon us, because our God is not among us? And I will surely hide thy face in that day for all the evils which they shall have wrought, in that they are turned away unto other gods. Wow. So knowing that, Moses did one more thing. He wrote a song. Chapter 31, verse 19. Now therefore write ye this song for you, and teach it the children of Israel. Put it in their mouths, that this song may be a witness for me against the children of Israel. For when I shall have brought them into the land which I swear unto their fathers, that flows with milk and honey, and they shall have eaten and filled themselves and grown fat, then will they turn unto other gods and serve them, and provoke me and break my covenant. And it shall come to pass, when many evils and troubles are befallen them, that this song shall testify against them as a witness, for it shall not be forgotten out of the mouths of their seed. For I know their imagination which they go about even now, before I have brought them into the land which I swear. Moses therefore wrote this song the same day, and taught it the children of Israel. And he gave Joshua the son of Nun a charge, and said, Be strong and of good courage, for thou wilt bring the children of Israel into the land which I swear unto them, and I will be with thee. So they go through the whole song. Chapter 32, verse 45. And Moses made an end of speaking all these words to all Israel. And he said to them, Set your hearts unto all the words which I testify among you this day, which you shall command your children to observe to do all the words of this law. For it is not a vain thing for you, it's your life. And through this thing you shall prolong your days in the land, whither you go over Jordan to possess it. Verse 48, And the Lord spoke unto Moses that same day, saying, Get thee up into this mountain, Abarim, unto Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, which is over against Jericho. It's opposite Jericho. And behold, the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel for a possession, and die in the mount, whither you go up, and be gathered unto thy people, as Aaron thy brother died in Mount Hor, and was gathered unto his people. Because you trespassed against me among the children of Israel at the waters of Meribah, in Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin, because you sanctified me not in the midst of the children of Israel. Yet thou shalt see the land before thee, but thou shalt not go thither into the land which I give the children of Israel. So then Moses even does one more thing. He blessed each of the tribes, and he gave prophecy over each of them, just like Jacob had done over the 12 sons. And then chapter 34, verse 1. And Moses went up from the plains of Moab into the mountains of Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, that is over against Jericho. And the Lord showed him all the land of Gilead unto Dan, and all Naphtali, and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, and all the land of Judah, to the utmost sea. So that was a phenomenal thing, that he could see for miles. And the south, and the plain of the valley of Jericho, and the city of palm trees unto Zoar. And the Lord said unto him, This is the land which I swear unto Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, saying, I'll give it to you, this thy seed. I've caused you to see it with your eyes, but thou shalt not go over thither. So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord, and he buried him. God did that. In a valley in the land of Moab, over against Beth Peor, but no man knows of his sepulchre unto this day. And Moses was 120 years old when he died, and his eye was not dim, nor his natural force abated. And all the children of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. So the days of weeping and mourning for Moses were ended. And Joshua the son of Nun was full of the spirit of wisdom, for Moses had laid his hands upon him. And the children of Israel hearkened unto him, as did the Lord commanded Moses. And there arose not a prophet since in Israel like unto Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. In all the signs and the wonders which the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt to Pharaoh, to all his servants, and to all his land, and in all that mighty hand, and in all the great terror which Moses showed in the sight of all Israel. So now Moses, one of the most influential leaders in the history of the world, was gone. And he left behind a legacy that is still affecting us today. He did his best to lead the children of Israel through thick and thin, through success and failure, and he brought them as far as he could, all the way to the river's edge. Bless you.